Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. It's an honor for us to introduce our transfer station concept. I represent three companies on this speech. CNNL Waste Solution, which is based in Shanghai. Ergo Global, which is 100% owned by CNNL, based in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And Selectrospectra, which is our partner in Malaysia. So we work together with these kind of transfer stations. Now, I'm sure most of you would know what a transfer station is, but just to explain very shortly, that it is introduced where the long transport for collection trucks from the collection areas to the landfill is very long. When it's very long, then it becomes very expensive, uneconomical. So we introduced a transfer station between collection points and the deposit. The deposit being whether it's a landfill or a WTE, a waste-to-energy plant. The reason that we introduced transfer stations, and there are two types of transfer station, which I will show you later, which types it is. Most of you maybe are familiar with the Tamambirin transfer station in Kuala Lumpur. That is a horizontal transfer station. And they have, as you will know, they have problems. Anyway, the way this works is that it saves a lot of fuel cost because you have shorter distance with the collection trucks. The maintenance is also saved because you have shorter distance. Reduction of collection truck fleet. You don't need so many collection trucks. You reduce also the operation personnel of the collection trucks. They're normally 2 to 3 persons. Then by reducing and transferring the waste to large trucks, then you reduce the traffic and you reduce the leachate pollution on the roads, which I've seen here in Kuala Lumpur, I'm based here, is a problem. You also, of course, because you reduce the traffic, you reduce the CO2 emission. Okay, I have to be very quick, so let's jump to the next one. This is basically why we do it. These are the collection truck. An average collection truck takes maybe 7 tons. And they are only supposed to work within short distance because they have to be efficient on the collection. They're not dedicated for transport. They are dedicated for collection. So therefore, for the long distance, we should introduce larger trucks. So we introduce this kind of truck. This kind that you see there, oops. And that can take 3, for example, 3 of those collection trucks, payload of waste. So instead of having the 3 trucks, the 3 collection trucks traveling all the way from collection to disposal, then you just travel with 1 big truck. So of course you will save a lot of money, you'll save a lot of maintenance and so on. But the way a transfer station works is also very important. So let's go a little further. There are 2 types. There's a horizontal type and there is the vertical type. Let me go through the horizontal type first. They have their compactor under the unloading deck. This is where the collection truck goes in and unload into a feeder, into a hopper first and then into a feeder. And then it is compacted into a square. Normally, the horizontal use square containers. So that is one problem. The whole deck under the unloading deck, the whole area is filled with different equipment. You also need high power to compact horizontally, and you cannot operate if there is a power failure unless you have a pretty huge generator. You cannot. Then you also expose the waste to the open air, and you have leachate leaking. It has been shown to be very difficult to seal this so that there is no leachate leaking when you compact the waste into the container. The vertical is different. We put up the compactor there and the hydraulic power unit on top, which means that this space is empty. So we can use this space for waste sorting, material recovery facility, or workshops, storage, offices, anything you can think of. We are also, our compactor is much lower energy because it compacts and helps have a little bit of help from Newton with the gravity. So it's easier compacted. That's what it tells there. Cannot, and we can still operate if we have a power failure. Our compactor will not be working for a period, but gravity will still help us to compact the waste. And then we have 100% sealed silo bottom, which ensures that there is no leakage spillage on the road. That's basically the two types. So what I'm introducing today is our vertical transfer station. And we have, of course, I have to mention also the transfer truck equipped with a heavy-duty cable system that can lower the silo into transport position. This is the vertical and the horizontal, and I'll just let this stay for a couple of minutes so that you can read the comparison between the vertical and horizontal. The loading, we dump it directly, but the horizontal, it's more complicated. Power consumption, also we have much less power consumption on the compaction. Then the equipment investment, because ours is pretty simple. And one compactor can handle up to sometimes 6 positions. I would say it's better with 4, but it can handle up to 6 positions, whether the horizontal only can take 1 or 2. So you need more compactors for the horizontal system. Then the maintenance cost, well, we have, because we have less equipment, lower maintenance cost. Odor pollution, also we dump the waste directly into the silo via a funnel, which I can show you later. And but you in the horizontal transfer stations, the waste is exposed for the open air for a much longer time. Sometimes you even have a big pit where you have to take from the pit until the feeder, until the compaction for the horizontal. That makes a bad smell. Of course, we cannot avoid, in the vertical, we cannot avoid smell, but we have a special system with spraying and also with taking the dust out so that it doesn't smell. Actually, we have built a waste transfer station in the middle of Shanghai, very, very close, within 50, 75 meters to residential. They're happy about it. There's no smell. The only thing they can see is when the collection trucks are coming to the station. That's it. We have a very simple construction principle for the vertical. It's basically we start with a box, and then we mount the steel frame onto this box, and on the steel frame we mount the compactor and part of the funnel, and we have place for the silo in the steel frame. Now I'll just tell you a little bit, there's still some time, tell you a little bit about the different equipment that we use. First of all, we have the silos, and they stand in a vertical position, and they are efficiently sealed at top and bottom. And they can be equipped also, if a customer prefer, they can be equipped with a leachate drainage system so that you can take the leachate out, put it in a dedicated leachate treatment on the station or in a tank so that you can transport it by special tankers to a leachate treatment plant in the landfill. This is just optional. That can be chosen. But the main thing is to see that our containers are silos round, and the reason that we do that is that we all know that when you want to pressure into a square, because of the equal distribution of the forces, a square container would like to be round. So the square container will have to be reinforced, which is quite heavy and takes away from the waste payload. So therefore we said, okay, instead of having a square container reinforced, why don't we choose a round one? And we can actually have the silo material very thin, so we can have much payload in the silo. We have maybe, we have two kind of silos, 6 meter and 7.5. The 6 meter silo will take maybe up to 17 ton. The 7.5 will take maybe up to 22. Depends, of course, of what you put in it and the composition of the waste. That was the silos, okay? So then we load them on, like you saw on the steel frame, and you can see there is the funnel, so that we make sure that the waste goes into the silo and not all around. We call them dumping chutes, or they have many names, but they work efficiently. Then we have the compactor. Let me just say, it doesn't work that quick. It doesn't, there's something with the computer that does that, but it works slow. But it works very efficient, and it actually it compacts with 30 ton. Then we have the third very important part of our... Did I do something wrong? Hello? Oh, okay. The third very important part of our system is, of course, the cable system to be mounted on the trucks so that we can raise and lower the silos for transport and raise them on the station. This is, of course, a very important part too. Then we have the different kind of transportations. We have a rigid truck, a truck with a trailer, and a truck with a double silo trailer. This double silo trailer has been introduced to our project in Penang. So 2 6-meter silo. This is a good system when you have good infrastructure and you have a long distance from the transfer station to the landfill or incineration plant. We are also thinking about the future for Malaysia. In Europe, where I come from, we have been sorting our waste for many years, and it took a long time to get there. And it will take a long time in Malaysia to get to the sorting, but I am very sure it will come. So we have also thought about that when we invented the system. The system comes originally from Holland, but is now manufactured in China and will be manufactured by our partner in Malaysia. Our partner is Electrospectra. But anyway, so we can sort if we get to the point where the waste can be sorted at the source, we can actually take them to different silos. So that one will be for compost, some will be for recycling, some will be for trash that cannot be used and have to go to the landfill. So that we can support the recycling with our waste transfer station. The horizontal waste transfer station, because the way they put in the pit, cannot support that. They cannot. Because it all goes in a big pit and then it goes into the container. Anyway, I'm not sure that the colors are confirmed with the international sorting system, but never mind, you'll know what I mean, that you can sort into the different systems. Business, we can actually, our business scope, we can supply EPC or we can invest and we can go BOT or DBOO. We have all kind of possibilities that we of course discuss in details with our partner and the potential customer. We can also operate, and we do that. We do that already in China. We operate our facilities after they have been constructed, and we maintain the facilities, all of them. Then I'll just show you at the end, because I'd like questions. So I'll be a little quick with this. I'll just show you some of the transfer stations. This is the one in Penang, which takes the silo, 2 silos at a time by trailer. And then I will just go through. We have built more than about 60 transfer stations in China, which is a good market for us. And we are very sure that Malaysia will be a good market too in the nearest future. So just different types. We have the open transfer stations, the closed transfer station. Here we have the one in the middle of Shanghai. We call it a garden transfer station. So we actually, in the transfer station, we have meeting rooms. People can get a wedding in there, in that transfer station. And there's absolutely no smell. This is another of our garden transfer stations in Shanghai. And then we have a number spread all over China, Any kind of architectural design can be achieved because it's very easy, as I showed you the box. In the box principle, it's pretty easy.
So you've used bigger trucks compared to smaller trucks before, right? Do you have a number to see how much CO2 emission you have saved?
I have made some attempts to calculate, because it's pretty easy. I think 1 liter of fuel is equivalent to 2.68 cubic ton of CO2, as far as I remember. So yeah, basically, so when I know how much fuel, and I calculate that from project to project, how much fuel can we save by introducing our system instead of using the collection truck. Then I can calculate the CO2. I haven't done it yet, but I will.
I think the tricky things about the system is the land that you need to acquire to build the facilities, the transfer station. What's your strategy? What is your strategy for the high density area? What is your strategy in order to acquire the land to build the station? That's one thing. The second thing is, the perspective of public itself. If you claim that this transfer station don't have order whatsoever, if you want to build that thing, you have to get some permission or permit whatsoever. And the public, in terms of waste management, if you want to build the station orderless, the idea is that's not quite convincing to the public. What is your strategy in terms of managing this?
That's a very good question and a little bit difficult to answer. Basically, if we have to build a transfer station in the middle of Kuala Lumpur, let's say, this will not be our project. Well, we'll have to build it, but the project will be maybe DPKL, maybe KPKG. They will have to deal with that. We have to convince the authorities that we can do this. The way we do this is to take them to our transfer stations in Shanghai where it works. They can see for themselves. They can discuss with the public in Shanghai, how do you see this transfer station? Is it an okay thing? That is what we normally would do. Another thing is people in Malaysia, they, compared to Europe, waste in Malaysia is something you have to get rid of. In Europe, it's different. It's a resource. I think that will come to Malaysia. The people mind will think, okay, this is a resource. It's not just what you get rid of. So their attitude towards a waste transfer station, or maybe even a waste to energy plant, will change a bit when they see that.
Am I right to say that there's no recycling prior to your transfer station? Is there any segregation of waste that is required before it goes to your transfer station?
Not today.
Okay.
Not today. There is not. In our transfer stations, I mean, we have specific, well, let me correct it a little bit, because in Shanghai we actually have a project where we separate into food waste and non-food waste. So the food waste is separated at the source or from the collection trucks. They come only with the food waste, and we take that into a very specific silo to transport that one. But other than that, separation into food waste and the remaining waste, no, not yet.
So do you find any problems with your compaction? Because we throw basically everything into the garbage bin,
right.
and it goes into the garbage truck.
Yeah.
And I believe without the segregation of waste, it goes to your transfer station, am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
So throw everything from electronic waste to maybe you can find a refrigerator in the garbage truck. A big table.
We have found a lot of funny things in the garbage that is transferred. Normally, if a transfer station is operated very well, we urge the operator, take the bulky waste out. Take the bulky waste out and transfer it maybe in open-top containers. Because we don't like to too much to compact a washing machine or a fridge. We don't like that. So take that out and put it into open-top containers and transfer that separately. We have a transfer station in Chile, in South America, that takes about 7,000 tons per day. They do a lot of sorting at the transfer station before it's put into the silos and open-top containers. So green waste also.
So it would be better to have a sorting of waste before it comes to the transfer station.
Absolutely.
That is the ideal solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, my first question is, just to double check, you mentioned just now the transportation system in Malaysia started in Penang, is it correct?
That's correct.
Then you're going to practice it to other states, especially in Peninsular Malaysia. But now it's only in Penang.
Well, we have a transfer station Penang, which we started on in 2003.
How many?
Only one.
Only
one so far. We're planning another one together with our partner in Malaysia on the Penang Island. It's under planning.
Okay. But come to the second question, since many people, if want to invest for this one, doesn't matter the local council or the concession, for example, they're thinking about the cost. Yes, you mentioned about the cost mentioned earlier, but you mentioned about the cost of the fuel, everything, compared to you build one transportation system, which you reduce the cost of the fuel, but you have to invest on how to build the facilities, everything. By comparing those two situations, the old and the new method, how, maybe you didn't show over there, but how many percentage you can save on the cost of the fuel consumption, for example? You have any figure to show on?
I cannot,
overall cost, maybe.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it on our booth, because I have some figures in my computer. I can't remember them out of my head. But of course, we always have to, whenever we prepare a project, we prepare the CapEx, which is normal, but we also prepare the OpEx. The OpEx, which include all the operation of the transfer station. Then we can compare this OpEx with the OpEx of the existing system without any transfer station. So that's the closest I can answer that question.
Sorry, a last simple question. In Shanghai, in one transport station is for how many radius compared to the with the nearest transportation? Is it like 50 kilometer, 100 kilometer in Shanghai, for example?
Which is
yeah, I mean they have 2 or 3. How far the radius between them? Is it like a few states or a few district or how?
Oh, okay. Well, there's between the transfer stations, there might be 20 kilometers. In the center of Shanghai, we have 2, and they are, I don't know, Maggie, they might be like 5 kilometers between them. 5, 6, Huangpu and Jinan transfer station. Is that the...
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you want to build in KL, for example, how many you want to build in KL? Is it 2 or 3, for example?
Yeah, well, we have to discuss with the authorities.